Welcome, yogis. Today's practice is a front body opening back bend practice. So if you spend a lot of your time sitting during the day, whether that's in a chair or at a desk, or maybe you just have some low back pain, this should be a great class to help build some strength and sort of undo all of the compression and shortening of the front body that you're doing during the day. For practice, we will need a couple blocks, so if you have those, have them handy. We may also need a strap at some point, so if you have a strap or a little piece of towel or something, that should work out just fine. I am so excited to get started. We'll see you on the mat. Today we'll start in a easy seated position. So if you have your blocks, just go ahead and put those towards the top of your mat. We'll reference them later. If you want a little bit of elevation in your seat to make it easier to be upright, then go ahead and sit on one of those blocks. Once you get situated, close your eyes. Allow your shoulders to drop away from your ears. And then try leaning back ever so slightly. Stack rib cage right on top of your pelvis. Guide your attention to your breath. Elongate the spine, lifting more from crown of your head and your back body. You could visualize this like your heart moving into the roof of your mouth. Acknowledge where your breath is going. Some of us have a tendency to breathe in the chest, which is going to tighten up the musculature and sort of pull down on the head. So can you instead expand your breath through the belly and the rib cage? We talk about the breath often in yoga, but it's a really significant piece, not just to help focus our attention, not just to smooth out the nervous system, but also in a very physical way. It's relaxing and sort of massaging out fascia, helping to create a little bit more space for the spine. Notice any sticky places and do your best to expand the breath into those places. Take a few more moments to center and ground. Noticing what energy is showing up today. What is it that has brought you to your mat? Are you looking for grounding and centering? Or perhaps more expansion? Set an intention and then release it. Be open for what the practice has in store for you. As you're ready, you'll open your eyes. Drape your right hand down by your side as your left arm extends straight up to the sky. Breathe in for length. Breathe out, side bend to the right. Be mindful of grounding your left sit bone. If the right elbow bends, wrap it in towards your body. And then there's a little bit of a spiral. Spin your gaze past your top arm. Guide your left arm back behind your ear to any degree. Expand your breath into your left side body. Inhale back to center. The left hand will drape. Right arm will rise. It's a recommitment. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale to the left, side bend. Same elements of rotation, of drawing the arm bone back. And think about spiraling your right palm to face the wall behind you. But then we notice that the wrist has this ability to move, but we want to see if we can translate some of that into the arm bone as well. Feeling that the upper arm is spinning as if you're trying to look at your inner bicep. From that rotation, again, it's a recommitment to drawing the arm back in space. With all that work, extend, reach beyond your fingers. Inhale, float back up. Drape your arm down. We'll take an inhale, length. Exhale, twist to the right. Left hand will grab your knee or your thigh. The right finger is tent behind you, and you twist. Recognize if when you're pulling on the leg, if there's any hunching happening. And see if you can draw your shoulder blades down your back. Elongate the sides of your neck. And spiral your gaze past your back shoulder. Exhale, back to center. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist left. Now, as your left tented fingers hit the ground behind you, that is just an assist for length, not so much a place to recline back on. So you could test that out and see if you're able to lift your hand without much changing. Continue to expand your breath in all directions, forward and backward, wide to the sides, and up and down, base of pelvic floor as well as up towards the collarbones. Exhale, back around to center. Come on over your shins and find a tabletop. And grip your fingers into the mat to engage your palms. Set your shins up so they're a straight line behind your knees. And then it's an inhale, drop the belly, scoop the heart forward. Exhale, press through the ground, round your back. Inhale, scoop forward, shoulder blades squeeze together for cow pose. And exhale, round it out, heart moving into your back body for cat. Move in and out of these postures at your leisure. And I like to encourage a little exploration here. Feel around what's happening in the body on this day. And if you need to shift around in other ways, forward and backwards, swaying your hips side to side, or taking barrel rolls in the chest. Take any movements and linger in any place that may need a little more attention. Come back to a neutral position. Stacked joints, tops of feet pressing down into the ground. Begin by extending your right leg back behind you. Spiral your right heel to the ground, and I will try reaching the right arm up to the sky. This may feel really tippy. If you need to, pivot your left shin so you have a bit more of a base. If you're able to work it with your shin still in that neutral place, then try working there. Press again the top of your foot down for stability. Roll your heart open And then we'll try lifting the back leg. So for ease and balance, you'll look down at the ground. If you're able to, you can look at the side wall or maybe even up towards the sky. Sweep your top arm overhead, so bicep by your ear. Move your right knee towards the sky. Elbow will come in to close, attempting to tap elbow to knee. They don't need to touch. Inhale for length. Move slow like you're moving through water. Again, elbow towards knee. Inhale for length. One more time, elbow to knee. Lengthen out. Now here's the tricky part. Just play with keeping your right side body hovering, but square your right hip to the ground. See if you're able to linger for any amount of time, and then it's back down to tabletop. If you need a quick shift back to child's pose, give the shoulders a little break, maybe tent the fingertips. And then it's right back to it. Grip your fingers down, stack joints, send your left leg straight back, and spin your heel in. So you decide if you're pivoting your right shin or simply coming right up into the posture. Press down through the top of your right foot for stability, brace through your belly, and grip your right fingers into the mat. For ease and balance, you can look at the ground as you hover your left leg off the floor. If the right shin needs to pivot, again, you do what you need to do. Better to be stable than to be wobbling around. You might test out, gaze at the sky, play with the balance. And then the top arm will swim overhead. Take elbow and knee towards one another, nice and slow. Inhale for length. Again, elbow to knee. Inhale for length. Last time, elbow to knee. Lengthen out. Now try hovering. Square your left hip towards the ground. See if you can linger for any amount of time. And back to table. Tuck your toes and come right up and back. Downward facing dog. Settle into your breath. Spread your toes wide. If it's challenging to get a long spine, if you're feeling a little stuck in the shoulders, in other words, if your shoulders are shifting forward, you're kind of rounded in the back, a good solve for this is bending the knees, right, to help move that bend into the lower leg so we can get a little more extension in the back body. If all is well, sink your heels towards the ground. Think about lifting the peak of your down dog in your hips a little higher. And then if there's any of my bendy friends that are able to really melt through the shoulders, right, your work is the opposite. Can you lift through your belly, try to expand the space behind your heart, and stay in that more neutral place of strength? On a breath in, shift forward to plank pose. And then in one long line, come all the way down to your belly. Bend your elbows and lower. Reach both arms straight out in front of you, palms face down. Point your toes and press all 10 toenails down into the ground. Now, on a breath in, lift your right arm and your left foot. Lift and come down. Left arm, right foot. Switch and come down. Again, press through the left palm as the right lifts and lower. Switch and lower. Couple more. Lift. Lower. Lift. Lower. Last one. Lower. Switch. And lower. Hands will come back by your ribs. Press back. Child's pose. Allow your forehead to rest. Check back in with your breath. And just feel the support of the ground beneath you. Bring yourself back up through tabletop. Tuck your toes, and it's right back into down dog. One more round of breath. Rise to your tiptoes and take a walk forward, feet to hands. Breathe in, lift halfway. Breathe out and bow forward. Rise to stand, extend your arms. And hands to heart, exhale. Inhale, sweep up, little brightening of the heart. Exhale, fold forward. Half lift. Ground your palms, step your left foot back, right foot back to plank. Organize your shoulder blades so they're in a neutral position on your back. That means not pressing away and rounded, also not sunk and squeezing, but more neutral. Maintain that placement of your shoulder blades. Come down, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Now pay attention to your feet. Notice which foot you flip over first and try to swap that out or maybe flip over both. Down dog, come on back. Rise to your tiptoes, bend your knees, walk or jump, feet to hands. Halfway lift, bow forward. Rise up, sweep up, and hands to heart. Again, sun A, inhale, extend. Exhale, hinge and fold. Half lift, ground the palms, right foot back, left foot back to plank. Now engage the belly. Think of spiraling your hands towards the outer edge of the mat. So it's not a movement of the palm, but just that kind of friction, the gripping and rotation. Try to hold on to that spiral as you come down, chaturanga. Same for upward facing dog. And then again, notice your feet, come back to down dog. Try to lead with the non-dominant foot. 3 breaths. Rise high on your tiptoes, bend your knees, walk or jump, feet to hands. Half lift and fold. Rise up, sweep up, hands to heart. One more time through sun A. Inhale, arms high to sky. Exhale, dive forward. Halfway lift. This time, ground your palms and choose to step or hop, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. 3 breaths. Rise to tiptoes, bend your knees, top of the mat. Get there. Half lift, lengthen. Exhale to fold. Rise up, sweep up. And hands to heart. All right, bring your feet together to touch if they aren't already. Extend your arms out in front of you and press your palms together. Begin to lift your arms up. And if you notice that the elbows want to bend at any point in time, that's your stopping place. Right? Even if the arms are pretty low or seemingly pretty low, don't worry about that. It's a good place to work in. Press your palms together. Sink your hips back and down to chair pose. And acknowledge the work that this creates in your back body and in your arms. Stay committed to it. Draw your navel in and sit your hips back. Breathe for 3. For 2. And 1. Fold forward. Half lift. Ground your palms, step or jump back, chaturanga. Up dog, down dog. Right away, the right leg flies back behind, three-leg dog. Take your knee to your chest and place your foot between your hands. Warrior one. Your back heel will spin down to the ground. The arms extend up and overhead. Take a moment to settle, find the shape. Engage your glute and hug your right hip back. Breath in for length. Breath out, hands float back down to the mat. Step back to plank and flow it through. Right away, left leg flies back, three-leg dog. Take your knee forward. Place your foot forward. Warrior one. Rise up. Slide your right heel back any amount so you've got a nice 45-degree angle in your back foot. Press down through both feet to engage the legs. And then from that place of stability, lengthen upwards. Take a breath in. Exhale, hands find the mat. Step back to plank and flow it through. Three breaths. Now at any time, if you need to take a child's pose, you drop your knees. If at any time you want to skip a vinyasa, in other words, if you're going to do without the chaturanga, the up dog, that's totally fine. You can always just shift to down dog and meet us there. Rise to tiptoes. Bend your knees, make your way to the top of the mat. Flat back and fold. Rise up, sweep up. Hands to heart. So we've got 2 more sun bees coming up, a little bit more breath by breath. But of course, if you need to modify the pace or omit any postures, totally fine. Here we go. Chair pose. Breathe in. Exhale, dive forward. Half lift. Ground the palms, step, jump, hop back. Up dog. To down dog. Right leg high, breathe in. Draw your knee forward, step it through. Warrior one, rise up. Exhale, take it down, flow it out. Left leg high. Take the knee forward, step it through. Warrior one. Hands to mat, flow it out. Three breaths. High tiptoes, bend your knees, top of the mat. Half lift and fold. Rise up, sweep high. Hands to heart. Last round through, chair pose. Fold forward. Offer your heart. Ground your hands, flow it out. Inhale, right leg to sky. Take the knee forward, step it through, warrior one. Hands to mat, flow it through. Left leg to sky, breathe in. Knee forward, foot forward, warrior one. Sweep high. Take it down and flow it out. Three breaths. Inhale, high tiptoes. Tuck your tailbone as you round the spine forward. Think cat back. And then lower all the way down to your belly. Prop yourself up onto forearms for Sphinx pose. So while you're here, your fingers are spread. The elbows are ideally just a touch forward of the shoulders. But if this back bend feels too steep, we're going to bring the arms farther forward, right? Always elbow in front of the shoulder. We want to resist going back here, right? So if we need to be this low, no problem. Just have the arms out in front of you. At the same time, press all 10 toenails down into the ground. You should feel your kneecaps are lifted. And then can you also try to lift your belly button off the ground? Right? This should help protect the low back, pulling your core towards your back body to stabilize that place of center. And try pulling your hands towards the back of the mat. Again, it's different than lifting and moving. It's a pull. With this, your heart is extending forward even more. A couple more moments to breathe here. All right, bring your palms to stack, elbows wide. Set your forehead down. Disengage for a couple breaths. Feel your breath expanding your back body, expanding your hips. Come right back up onto your forearms. This time, the right forearm is going to come across the mat. Bend your left knee and reach back with your left arm, your left hand for your foot. Now, if you can, you'll grab the inner edge of the foot. Reach the foot out towards the long edge of your mat and then pull it in for quad stretch. Couple things to think about here. Number one, there's often a hinging in the hips that happens, especially if you're sitting in a chair a lot of the day. Hip flexors, psoas muscle, which connects the upper and lower body, that's going to be really short and tight. So as we take this quad stretch, it's going to pull on the front of the pelvis and kind of pull us into a deeper back bend, which will cause this hinge of the hips. So if you can, you think about pressing your frontal hip bone down into the mat so your pelvis pushes down, and then engaging your hamstring. So trying to squeeze the back line of your leg, squeeze your glute. Keep pulling your heel in. A few more breaths. Stay with it. Of course, if there's any discomfort or pain in your knee, just ease up on the quad stretch. In other words, you'll let the heel kind of come away a little bit. Give yourself some slack. All right, gently release. And we'll switch sides. So now the left forearm comes across the mat. So what I mean is, right, when you bend your knee, oftentimes there's this kind of lift of the hips, a little hinge and a space that comes in here. So what we're trying to do is push the hip down to the ground to flatten the space out. The right hand will reach back for your foot, weave your foot wide towards the long edge, and then pull it in. As you extend your hip down, you should feel that automatically encourage your hamstring and glute to activate. Keep energy in the pose. Stay committed to that place of stretch. Feel it in the meat of the quad, that front area of the leg. All right, slowly release your foot. Come back down to palms stacked, elbows wide. And then you can give your hips a little shimmy, just rocking butt side to side. If you need a little more than that, bend your knees and do some windshield wiping back and forth. Let your legs relax down. Hands come by the ribs, and once again, Press yourself back to a child's pose. Try to maintain some activity. Arms straight, palms pressing down. Come on back up through table. Tuck your toes, and it's back to down dog. Rise onto your tiptoes. Take a walk forward to the top of your mat. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale and fold forward. Rise up to stand. Extend your arms high. Hands to heart. Exhale. Let your arms come down by your sides and set yourself up so your feet are hips width distance apart. Roll your shoulders up towards your ears, down and back, and we'll try to interlace the fingers behind the back. So if this is inaccessible, you can always grab your strap, take that between your hands, and instead grip onto the strap to connect the two. Whichever variation you're working with, extend your arms straight. Notice if your rib cage is popped out, if you sunk into the back bend. This is a similar idea of what we were talking about on the floor, right? So if we're tight in the psoas and tight in the quads, front body in general is tight, this is going to close down this area. And because we don't want to be leaning forward, we want to stand upright, we do, right? So we stand up and we end up getting this big curvature in the spine, hence low back pain. So instead, as we stand up tall, this practice of yoga is helping us to establish more length and ideally a more neutral posture. When you take the interlace, of course, we're inviting in some back bend because of the open chest. So our work is to resist this place and instead squeeze the glutes and press the frontal hip bones forward. Move your arms away from your body to any degree. Soften your knees and come down to fold. You'll let the arms drift up and overhead. Then you notice if gravity is working against you, draw your shoulder blades down your back and leave some space for your neck. Do your best to glue the heels of your hands together. If that's not happening today, no worries. You can allow the space to remain. Couple more breaths. Allow your hands to drift down towards the mat. Now make sure you have your blocks handy. If your fingertips don't hit the floor with ease, you can always use a block underneath and place your hands or tented fingers on that block, right? Any height you like. Shift your weight now into your right foot and sweep your left leg back into a supported warrior 3. So already you should feel your glute turning on. Bend your left knee, and then for an added challenge, grab your block and see if you can stick that behind your left leg so you're holding on to it with your hamstring and your calf. Pulse your left heel towards the sky. Quick pulses for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now again, recommit to holding the block. Bring your knee towards your chest and see about standing up, holding the balance. Hands will come to heart, knee to chest. Keep the block. Bring your arms down once again and try for the interlace. If you're using the strap and that's too much to get it, just simply reach your arms behind you. Don't worry about the interlace. Now, challenge yourself to not worry about the block. Just let it drop and send your left leg back to airplane. Remember, airplane is a forward-facing posture. So we're thinking of this like cobra, but floating. Find some lightness and ease. And then left knee to chest. Release your arms, reach them high overhead, hold the balance. Come down to a standing split. Left leg will kick high, hands come down to the ground. If your block is there on the mat, just slide it out of the way. And then you have the option to take some handstand hops if you wish. With your left leg high and your hands fully grounded on the mat, we'll keep the left leg up, jump off the right leg, and land in the same foot. Couple hops, maybe a little hover time. And eventually we'll come down to a forward fold, 2 feet to the earth. Find a flat back, long spine. We'll take peace fingers and hook them around the big toes. So there's a couple actions happening. Number 1, we're pulling on the toe, but number 2, we're also pressing down through the big toe. So equal effort in both directions. I like to take my thumbs and push them down into the big toenail as well, just to add that sensation of grounding. And then I want you to shift your weight into your left foot. See if you can get your right foot off the floor, and then it might drift out to the side any amount, maybe a foot, or perhaps all the way parallel with the ground. Play with it. Maintain length and extension in your spine. And then slowly guide it back down to the ground. Release your toe lock. Take your right foot back and come down to a low lunge, back knee to the earth. Crawl yourself up onto your left thigh. Take a moment to organize your pose. Toes spread, feet anchoring down into the earth, and then the hands will come to heart. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist to your left. And see if you can bind your right elbow outside your knee. If this twist is too much, the right hand can come down with the left arm high. And if you're looking for deeper, take your left hand to the outside of your thigh. Bring your right arm across even more so the knee gets closer towards your armpit. Continue with big breaths. And then in this expression, you have the option to open your wingspan if you so choose. If the block is handy, you could always use that and bring it underneath your palm as well. Drift both hands down to frame your front foot. Step back, plank pose, and lower down to your belly. Reach your right arm straight out in front of you. Bend your left knee. Reach back with your left hand, ideally for the inner arch of your foot. It's just a better position for the shoulder. But if you need to grab the outer edge, that's not wrong, so no problem. Okay, start by kicking your left foot into your left hand. Feel how your left frontal hip bone moves towards the ground. We've been here before. Pull up on the left foot with your left arm and hand. And then it's an inhale, the right side body comes up. So we're in our half bow pose, half locust pose. Squeeze in towards midline. Maintain length in the back of your neck. So it's from extension that you can then start to lift your gaze. Breathe. One more full breath in. Exhale, lower down. Release your leg. Slide your hands back by your low ribs. Shift it back through a brief child's pose. And then tuck your toes and come right back up to downward facing dog. Rise up onto your tiptoes. Take a walk forward, feet to hands. And then give yourself some time in a ragdoll. You can let your arms dangle, or if you prefer, loop the arms into the eyes of your elbows. A little bob and sway is nice. Help things soften and release. Allow your arms to dangle towards the ground. Take a breath in. Exhale, roll to stand, one vertebra at a time. Soften the knees, slowly unfurling, stacking vertebra one on top of the other, and the gaze lifting is your final expression. Set your feet up once again at hips width. Roll your shoulders up, down, and back, and grab for the interlace of the fingers. Always having the option to use a strap if you have one. Again, close down the front body a touch. Focus more on your shoulders moving backwards in space. As you're ready, soften your knees, bow forward to fold. Allow the arms to drift up and overhead. If your fold is pretty comfortable, try keeping your legs more straight. Engage your quads. You should be able to see your kneecaps lift. And this will cue the hamstrings to release and give you a little extra room. Allow your arms to drift down towards the ground. Come to a flat back, and this time the weight will shift into your left foot. Sweep your right leg back into supported warrior 3. Bend your right knee. And now again, take our block if you want that added challenge. Bring it behind your leg to grab onto it with the back of your right leg. And then we pulse up to the sky for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Squeeze that block. Bring your knee to your chest and see about rising up to stand and holding the balance. Bring your arms down. See about taking the interlace behind your back. And again, if it's too much, just reach your arms back. No problem. Forget about grabbing the block. Just let it be. Kick back and find airplane. Look forward. Lift your arms away from your body and find length. Take your right knee to your chest. Sweep your arms to the sky. Standing split, hands down, right leg high. And then again, you can either stay here or try some hops. Grip your fingers into the ground. Jump high, right on top of your hips, landing on the same foot. You might find a little hover time. Do your best to keep your hips square and hug your left knee towards your chest. When you're ready, we come down and meet in a forward fold. Spread your toes, hips width distance apart. Inhale for length. Take your peace fingers, hook them around your big toes, and commit to grounding. Keep your long spine. You may notice as we go into this action of lifting the foot and balancing that the shoulders start to hunch. So keep the length, shoulder blades drawing down your back. Lock it in. Shift your weight into your right foot. Play with lifting your left foot off the ground and maybe drifting it out to the side to any degree. If you're tapping down to the earth, no problem. Just keep playing with it. Keep working it. And slowly come back to an even footing. Release your toe lock. Step your left foot back and lower your back knee down. Crawl up onto your thigh. Adjust your stance. Seeing how deep you can go in the front knee. Getting some nice opening through the left hip. And then turning your glutes on. We can do that by drawing the front heel back towards the back of the mat. Feel the right glute turn on. Hands come to heart center. Breathe in, lengthen. Breathe out, twist to your right. Now again, remember your options. You can bring your left hand down to the mat inside your foot and reach your right arm high. If you're going deeper, the right hand can come outside the thigh. Scoot your left arm around a little bit more, trying to get the knee and the armpit a little closer together. If you so choose, left hand down, right arm high to open your wingspan. Take your hands back down to frame your front foot. Tuck your back toes, lift your knee, step back to plank. And then lower all the way down to the earth. This time, the left arm will reach forward. Bend your right knee. Reach your right hand back, ideally for the inner arch of your foot, but again, if you grab the outer edge, no worries. Hug in towards midline. Press your frontal hip bones down and feel as you do that already the hamstring and the glute are engaging. Kick your right foot back into your right hand. Pull up on your right foot to get your thigh off the ground any amount. Inhale, left side body comes up. Kicking back and up to the right foot. Squeeze your glutes, allow that to help you hover and lift away from the ground. Breathe. Last full breath in. And gently lower. Release your foot. Take your hands back by your ribs. Press back to child's pose. All right, take it back up through table and into downward facing dog. As you're ready, walk or hop to the top of your mat. Breathe in for a length and stay there. Take your hands onto your hips. Squeeze the pencil between your shoulder blades to flatten your spine. And then rise straight up to stand. Extend your arms up overhead. Interlace your fingers, allowing thumb and index finger to release, and you'll make a little X in your thumbs for Kali Mudra. Lengthen upwards, breathe in. Side bend to the right. Come back up through center. Recommit to length on an inhale. Side bend to the left. Rise up through center. Keep your arms overhead, but just release your grip. And then take your left foot behind you on the top of your foot. Straighten your left leg with the toe pointed. Begin to lengthen upwards. Sink your sternum in slightly, but then continue to slide the sternum up the wall in front of you. Arc backwards. Biceps behind the ears. The gaze continues to lift. Engage your belly. Rise up to neutral. Let your left arm drift down by your side. Bend your left knee. Grab for the inner arch of your foot if you can. And then as we come into our Natarajasana, dancer's pose, kick your left foot back into your hand first. Then pull up on the foot. Stay forward facing. If you want to hinge forward, Feel welcome to get into the hamstring and start to bow forward. And slowly rise up. Left foot to the ground, both arms overhead. And switch your weight to your left foot. Take the right foot back on the top of your foot, so toenails into the mat. Straighten your right leg, point your toes. Lengthen upwards and start to add a little arc of the spine. Remember, we're not protruding the heart out, but containing the front body while finding the length. It can be an odd concept to think about kind of gripping the front body, engaging the front body, but we can contract and still broaden, widen, and lengthen. Exhale, come back up to square with the gaze. Right arm by your side. Bend your right knee, reach back for the inner or outer edge of your foot. Start by kicking into your hand, then lift upwards. Try to stay forward facing for now. And if you want to add the hinge, go ahead and start to bow forward. Slowly rise up. 2 feet to the floor, 2 arms to the sky. Breathe in. Hands come down to your heart. Sink to a chair pose. Let's take feet hips-width distance apart for this one. Hug your legs out away from one another. Shift your weight towards your heels. Maintain lift of the heart. And then stay with soft knees, drape forward and fold. If possible, stay bent so much that your belly and your lap connect. All right, bring your hands to the mat. Step back and just find a tabletop. Stack your joints for now. Grip your fingers into the mat. And then with your toes tucked under, lift your knees and hover them off the ground. So we're just looking for some stability, some strength in the core after all the opening. Couple more breaths. And bring your knees down. So I'll show you the next thing we're going to do. They're called, I believe, scorpion twists. Ideally, we're in that same hovering knees position. The knees will then swivel, in this case, to the right. My left foot is spiraling. My right foot is spiraling. So now my right foot is totally grounded. The right hand naturally lifts, and then I can kick my left foot. And then I return to square. So the other way, the knees go left, my left foot grounds, left hand lifts, and the right foot kicks. Come back to square. So we pivot. The lift of the hand is going to come natural, so you shouldn't need to think about it too much. And you can make these pretty quick when you start to get the hang of it. So let's give it a try. Come back into your stacked position. Tuck your toes and hover your knees. Swivel your knees to the right. Your right foot comes all the way to the ground. Right hand lifts. Kick your left foot. Back to hovering table. Knees left. Left foot comes to the ground. Left hand lifts. Right foot kicks. Back to square. Swivel and swivel. Go as slow as you need or as fast as you like. Take one more each direction. When you're through, it's back to tabletop. Sink back for brief child's pose And I'd recommend on this one, allowing your arms to drape back behind you. If your forehead doesn't reach the ground with ease, you could put a block under it, or even stack your palms, make a fist in one or both hands. Just find a creative way to get that support. Rise back up. Make your way around to a seat. And then we're going to come right down onto our back. Knees will come into your chest. You can take a little bit of rocking side to side. And then ultimately, shins come parallel to the ground, legs squeeze together. Take your hands behind your head with your elbows wide. And then exhale, crunch up. Inhale to lower. Exhale, crunch. Inhale, lower. So just keep on going with these. They don't need to be fast by any means. Just slow and controlled. Again, after all the back bending, this might actually feel good. Let's keep going for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Knees to chest, give them a squeeze. Again, enjoy rocking side to side. Eventually, both knees are going to drop over to the right for a spinal twist. Right hand will ground your knees, and the left arm will reach wide, and you soften. Last full round of breath. Take it back through center. Both knees to chest. Drape them over to the left. Again, left hand can ground the knees. The right arm opens wide. Feel your effort beginning to slow down. Your energy grounding. Check back in and see where your energy is now. Come back through center for your final active posture. Knees to chest, guide them wide, and come into full happy baby. Seek length in your spine for this one. Ground your tailbone down into the floor, so pressing your tailbone, not quite the low back, right? Even lower than that. Press your pelvis down. And if you notice your chin lifting towards the sky, see if you can also narrow that down. Neutral from the crown of your head to the base of your pelvis. Without seeing any movement, kick your feet up into your hands and pull down with equal effort. When you're satisfied, release your legs. Take your legs long down the mat and just determine how you feel. If there's sensation happening in your low back, You may feel more comfortable with your feet together and your knees draped wide. And if you have the blocks handy, I would also recommend putting those underneath your thighs so you have support on both sides. You might also enjoy taking your feet as wide as the mat with knees bent and allowing your knees to drape together. Whatever position you're in, close your eyes. Find some gentle, uncontrolled breaths. Be open to what this practice has to offer you. I encourage you to take a bit of rest. Staying in this traditional corpse pose or shavasana position, allowing your body to reset, just clearing your mind for a bit. See if there's any inspiration there for you to take into the rest of your day or into your evening. I thank you so much for practicing with me. Please stay here as long as you like and enjoy. Namaste.